It's best ball season and you are not drafting the right quarterbacks. So I am joined with Cooterdoodle from Fantasy Life, and we've ranked and tiered every quarterback so you could plan your stacks during best ball and redraft season right here on the Fast Draft channel. Okay, Cooter. We've got quarterbacks here. We're going to start out with the S tier. Like I joked, I don't know my alphabet. In this case, S becomes first. We have the usual suspects: Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jayden Daniels, and Joe Burrow. I have Lamar Jackson as QB1. You have Josh Allen as QB2. We could argue about that, but I think it's just pretty dumb. Because this is why we do tiers, guys, is that any of these guys can finish one overall. I just like the weapons around Lamar Jackson a little bit better. With that being said, let's just talk about some of these other guys. The tush push is around. Are you worried about Jalen Hurts at all? Or do you think that we're all being silly and taking one stat and not thinking about the entire offense as a whole?
Well, that's a good question. Okay, so Jag, here's how I look at it. I know you have your S tier. Mine is like tier 1, the passing gods and rushing machines, which is Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. And then for the next 3, I consider them, they are a god at one thing or good at both. And so Jalen Hurts is a god at one thing, which is the rushing, right? Like his passing wasn't phenomenal last season, but as long as the tush push is around, I'm not afraid. Like I'm very comfy taking him. And so if that I think he drops probably a tier or 2 if that gets banned, but I'm not worried with it. Like if it's staying, he's up there. He's a god at it, you know?
And it's not going to be banned for this year, guys.
No.
Again, these are redraft rankings. So in best ball, so you're probably going to be fine. Moreover, I think we saw, the tail end of last season and specifically in the Super Bowl where teams tried to stop Saquon Barkley. And I emphasized the word tried, but I think we actually saw that in the Super Bowl, and Jalen Hurts was still fine because you know why? He has these guys. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I hear they're very good receivers. I don't know. I don't talk about football for a living, but I just genuinely think that we kind of overthink things and we be getting a little too deep in them spreadsheets. So with that being said, let's go to the non-rushing ones because Joe Burrow is weird because when you look at what doesn't belong, you could argue that there's only 2 white guys here, but that's not it. He's the only one who doesn't rush the football here. But I think that the Bengals are so bad on defense and they have so many weapons. I think he has as much opportunity to finish top 3 as ever. I mean, do you think the Bengals actually fix that defense at all? They didn't sign their defensive end, so they drafted a new one. And I don't think they have signed him yet. I don't get what they're doing.
And honestly, even despite that, like they are a pass-heavy offense. They look so good, and he's going to throw the ball. He almost got, 5,000 yards in 2024. He was first in yards and passing touchdowns. And Chris Allen actually just wrote about pass rate over expectation, how the Bengals are really just up there. And so, like, when you're looking at guys like you just mentioned, Devonta Smith versus T. Higgins, I'm leaning T. Higgins just purely because Joe Burrow's throwing the ball so often in that offense. Almost, I think 650 times last year. So he's one of the few that, like you said, does not have the rushing upside, but man, you just can't stop him through the air. So he could easily pass up somebody like Jalen Hurts because of that.
Yeah, or even let's say Jayden Daniels has like a sophomore slump. Then again, I'm not saying Jayden Daniels is going to suck everybody, but I don't think Deebo Samuel fixes that wide receiver room. Like I don't think he's going to come out there and it's like, oh wow, this is the wide receiver 2, the prince that was promised. I just don't really buy that at all. This is the boring tier. So you have this is the A tier, but you named it, and I deleted this. I'm sorry. What did you name?
No, you're good.
It?
So my Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson were passing gods and rushing machines. And then my tier 2 with these 3 is they're a god at one thing or just really good at both. So Jayden Daniels is good at both, right? He's got the rushing and passing. Jalen Hurts is a god at rushing. And then Burrow just demolishes through the air. So I can't separate those. I mean, I'm taking any of them.
Exactly, and you're just going to be happy. Next, we move to the A tier, where we have Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, and C.J. Stroud. Again, this is a tier. I am lower on Bo Nix and higher on Caleb Williams. They're pretty much close to you. And I guess I'll start with Caleb Williams. Are you one where like, well, he paints his nails, so it's over, or do you think that Ben Johnson? And I think people underrate just how much coaching matters. Are you still willing to draft Caleb Williams because of Ben Johnson?
Yeah, but also like, oh my God, keep him safe. He was sacked 68 times last season. That's really the bigger problem that we had to address. And so as long as they keep him safe, he's not getting sacked all the time. They have added weapons, Colston Loveland. I get why where do you have him? Yeah, QB6. I'm a little lower on him, but that's just because I'm a little higher on Bo Nix. But yeah, I'm not worried about him. Keep painting those fingernails. Just keep him from getting sacked.
Yeah, it's just I don't think the weight of the nail polish on his fingernails like mess with his passing mechanics. And also, I think old men need to realize that they're old. Like them young bucks do stuff differently. I'm getting old now. I'm 30. What did I have to look up the other day? I had to look up if I was using ore farming properly. I was like, this in theory makes sense, but I'm seeing it used all over the place. I need to check myself before I proverbially wreck myself. And then I think I'm underrating Baker Mayfield.
I love Baker.
You think about Joe Burrow, and I don't mean this literally as like a comp standpoint, but when you think statistically what they do, he's basically baby Joe Burrow. They're going to chuck that mofo 1,000 times. He doesn't care. He's gonna have that zen in, and he's gonna sling it. And
they literally, for why we don't know, added a fourth weapon with Egbuka. So I'm like, how is this offense going to take a step back? I know everyone's saying Baker's going to have a regression season because he had 4,500 passing yards and 41 touchdowns. But even if he regresses, he could still have, 3,800, 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, 35 touchdowns. Like, it's still going to be very viable. And he has so many weapons, and he rushes a little bit, Jag, like not much, but he got almost 400 rushing yards, a couple touchdowns, if he throws a couple more in there.
Yeah, he scoots a little bit, guys. This is some of these points that I like to tack on, and while I'll raise him ahead of like J.J. McCarthy ahead of some, they're not like straight up rushers. Trevor Lawrence is someone that I think is underrated in that same fact too. Is like they're not going to give you Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen numbers, but that extra 400 rushing yards is certainly better than like, you remember them Tom Brady, like his rushing yards at the end of the season was like 5 at best. Like that was a good season for him. Patrick Mahomes, do you think there would be a revenge narrative there, or what's going on?
I don't know. Patrick Mahomes, and I think I have him lower than you, but it's just because I think obviously undisputed great NFL quarterback, but for fantasy purposes, I have him in a tier that I call I have a concern of one big thing. And my one big thing is his weapons. You have Kelsey, who had arguably one of his worst career stats across the board last season. So can he come back to like what Kelsey was? And then you have Rashee Rice potential suspension and all that. So he's going to be fine, but I have him a little bit lower. He just makes me nervous. They're going to win games, Jack. But how are they going to do it? I just don't know.
Yeah, and we underrate the defense. Steve Spagnuolo, he really cooks it up. He even said his job after the Super Bowl that his job was to stop every weapon, and he only focused on Saquon Barkley, and that's what gave it up. But he is a bright coordinator. I'm kind of the opposite. I think that Rashee Rice is very good at what he does. I think Jalen Royals does the same thing that Rashee Rice does. That is both a slight to Rashee Rice and a positive to Jalen Royals. And then Xavier Worthy is very good at what he does. So Kelsey was this de facto wide receiver one, stud target earner. They've kind of recreated that in the algorithm. They really pulled up some Billy Bean type shit from Moneyball, because it's like you got Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Noah Gray is something that everyone drafted in Dynasty. Then after we all finally yeeted him off the taxi squad, he becomes something. So now that maybe we have all these weapons, we have 4 different kinds of Hollywood Browns with Worthy, Brown, and Juju, whatever, that maybe there is enough in this offense where we see the high passing volume, what made him a top 2 pick a while ago. And he's another one where Patrick Mahomes is just fast enough to be annoying as hell for a defense. Like
Yeah.
he's one of them just fast enough people where it's like, well, is he a rushy quarterback? Well, no, but he will get 4 yards and 4-yard you to death, which counts for something. We'll move on to our next tier, which is the B tier. Justin Fields, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, J.J. McCarthy, Matthew Stafford. I was pretty much in a hurry to move to this one because this is where we actually have real fun and a couple of discrepancies between our rankings here.
Yep.
I can't quit Justin Fields. He's the toxic boyfriend that I can't get rid of. I let him live on my couch. He only owns a PlayStation and a couple of Jordans that he won't sell, even though we need to rent. I can't quit him though. I think this is the year, and I have him at 9. How crazy am I?
You know what though? I could be convinced, Jack. Like that's the thing. That's why I don't do rankings. I've told you this like offline. I don't do rankings because you tell me a good story, you give me that narrative, and I can see it. I can envision it. Like I started looking at everything on Justin Fields, and I'm like, dude, he has the rushing upside. Like that's what puts him there, because if he can keep that going and he can kind of stick to what he did in those few games in 2024, he had 300 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns in 6 games. So if he kind of like keeps on his feet, and then now you have Garrett Wilson that he can throw to, who I think I'm high on Garrett Wilson. So maybe I am higher on Justin Fields there because I think he's going to have his 4th consecutive 1,000-yard season. So yeah, they added Mason Taylor at tight end. I mean, he has the chance. I'm one who I get very cautious, Jag, whenever like it's like, oh, fresh start. You know, we have all this bad news, but fresh start. But he's one that I really could see. Look, he's been in some bad situations, and now he has what he needs. And like I said, rushing upside, he could do it. He could crack the top 10.
I know, and I think we're really broken as a community in thinking that quarterback, well, if you got your quarterback, it'll fix everything. That's just not true, guys. Tom Brady left the Patriots because they couldn't fix it. We see this. Yeah. We saw something with Peyton Manning. He looked at the Colts. He's like, I'm good. And he goes to Denver. It doesn't work like that, guys. So, and you want to talk about telling yourself a story. I don't know how anyone could think about the careers of Fields and Garrett Wilson and like, yeah, these two dudes had every opportunity to succeed. What are the Steelers now? What are the? I think Mike Tomlin. Everyone's like, I'm surprised he still has that locker room. I think he lost that locker room when Martavis Bryant got traded.
Oh,
the team itself has just done a good job at like, we got to keep this shit off Twitter. You know, like I just don't think they've got it together at all. So I'm willing to buy to continue to buy him, especially at cost. I know, and like Bestball, he's kind of getting up there because I'm like, I thought I was the only wild one. And I see people taking him at like QB 7 or 8. I'm like, I guess we're all, you know, like we're all looking at each other. We're like, aim for the bushes before we jump on. You know, Kyler Murray, I was surprised that you're higher on.
Well, hold on, Jag. He's my concerned on one big thing. He needs to start rushing again. That's my one thing. He's in my tier of like, I am concerned, but if you get that one thing figured out, because he has Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, like he's got what he needs. Just figure out the rushing. Be that rushing boy again. Give me some, you know, some touchdowns on the feet. And then, that's why I have him, QB9 for me?
Yeah, the Drew Petzing, he did have like a fun little coach speak clip here where he said that they're going to try to utilize his strengths, which is moving him out of the pocket and on the run, which is great. Drew Petzing left Marvin Harrison Jr. on one side of the field in one alignment all year. So I wouldn't say the trust is there, you know? It's like, all right, cool. We got this guy who looks like a 40-year-old, 5-year-old, you know, and he did like very curious coaching things, but I'm here for it. Because like you said, it's the rushing. And a lot of people, and this is, I guess, a Marvin Harrison Jr. clip or quote as well, where when you think about what made that offense not get the most out of Marvin Harrison Jr., get the most out of Trey McBride, and maybe limit Kyler Murray's rushing, they're all good quarterback things. They're like, well, Kyler Murray got the ball out fast, and he's throwing the ball. They're like, but he sucks. I'm like, no, I think he became a better quarterback, and that hurt us in fantasy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Next, we have Justin Herbert. Like I said, nothing there. He doesn't run. They don't throw the ball a lot, so that's safe. The big one here that I want to talk about, Drake May, man. What am I smoking? Or what are you smoking?
Oh, okay.
Who's wrong here?
So again, I don't do these rankings. This is for me. He's in my tier 6 because I just named that as I'll pass. I'm passing on it. And here's why. I am concerned not about Drake May as much as I'm concerned about what's happening. Like, look, are we worried about Stephon Diggs with the media? They're blowing stuff out of proportion, but he was kind of being brought in as like the older guy with the work ethic to help the young team. And I'm a little curious if that's happening. And then there's been some whispers that OTAs, Drake May's throwing a lot of interceptions and stuff. So it's not that I don't think he can be what you've ranked him as. He's just, for me, I'm passing. He's on my list of like just avoiding, just for me, personal reasons. Too many question marks.
It's the floor for you, I think.
Yes.
It's like the ceiling's there, but the bottom can go out of it. And that's fair. I think we saw the floor last season. Full disclosure, if you've watched me on this channel, you've already gathered I'm a Patriots fan. With that being said, I think that I am a realistic Patriots fan. Where when Mike Vrabel comes out there, I'm like, man, he's gonna take us back generations. I think he's like, we're gonna run the wing T, and we're just going to depend on defense. That's like every coach is Southern for me. I don't know why, but like that's just what I expect out of him. But then bringing Josh McDaniels back, which is kind of an N-word when it comes to like coaching in here. It's a dirty word to say on here when you bring up Josh McDaniels, but like the only place that he does succeed is in Foxborough and in the press box or basically holding that OC playbook. If you have him actually run an organization and actually run men, it's bad. He'll do stuff like draft Tebow or degrade people and do whatever he did with the Raiders. I could see it there. And again, maybe I'm hopium. I'm like breathing in that hopium, but the rushing floor I think is a little bit underrated. So we'll agree to disagree.
Yeah. And look, it's just, I'm passing. That's my tier of just, I'm passing.
Everyone disparage Cooter in the comments now.
Come for me, but you won't catch me drafting him. Okay.
Trevor Lawrence here, another problem child. Is it me? Do I need therapy? I love problem kids. I was a problem kid. I'm like, he has a chance because this is another one. Urban Meyer, that wasn't a real season, guys.
Right.
That was Berenstein Bears. That wasn't real. It's actually Berenstein, and that never happened. Then you look at Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, and the Eagles said, we're good. And that team somehow immediately got better. I don't think he was it, man. I don't think he was it. Enter Liam Cohen, who helped fix Baker Mayfield. Now we give them real weapons. We got Travis Hunter, we got Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know what's going on with them running backs. I don't particularly care right now. This is about Trevor Lawrence. I have hope for him. Are you drafting him or is he shadow realmed with Drake May?
No, he's not shadow realmed. I have him in my tier 5. I'll still draft him. That's how I have him listed. Like because for me, his floor is safer and he has the ceiling with all these additions in the offseason. So I'm comfy, but I just don't have him as high as you. But I'll still draft him.
Yeah, you'll still draft him. That makes sense. Matthew Stafford, my favorite old man. The next interesting one on here, Brock Purdy. Are you worried about the 49ers, man? Just a little bit?
I don't know. I am surprised at how much they paid him. That shocked me a little bit. That's a lot of money when you look at like him compared to the other QB's production. I'm like, okay, he's getting paid more than what he's earned, I think, in some ways. But at the same time, if CMC is healthy, Kittle's going to be absolutely like he's a dog. So it just really comes down to health. Ayuk, all of that. That's what makes me nervous. But Purdy's he's winning those games. He's shocking us. So
what has me lower on him is that offensive line. Trent Williams is 1,000 years old, man. And like the statistics of when he's playing and when he's not are just awful. If anyone deserves an MVP, it's Trent Williams. I think they made that Protector Award solely for Trent Williams because that team is the offense specifically is the opposite of what we expect from a Kyle Shanahan when he's not on the field. They didn't draft a replacement essentially. I wonder when Father Time's going to get that W. On top of that, they're not known for being a healthy team. Let's look at that receiving core. Ricky Pearsall, I know you can't. I don't know. You can't put him in. You can't put him in body armor or whatever. He did get shot, but he's already had these injury issues come up. Brandon Ayuk said he didn't want to play. He had a very Steelers-esque offseason. And then when he comes back, he gets injured again. George Kittle, wrong side of 30, doesn't matter as much as tight ends. Christian McCaffrey, he's as healthy as any player I've ever seen. I don't believe you, Kyle Shanahan. I do not believe you.
See, and he lied to us before, so.
Yeah, that's why Brock Purdy's borderline. I'm going to let someone else draft him. In Dynasty, I own some Purdy, and I'm like, cool, he's got a contract. That's meaningful, and I'm going to keep him, but I'm not going to draft him. Maybe I'm crazy. Dak Prescott's another one where like you have him at 14, I have him at 19. It makes sense. Arguably, Dak Prescott could be top 10. What are the Cowboys now? What is Jerry Jones's mental state? Who is running this team? That I feel like we're going to see a documentary on Netflix in 10 years about how Jerry Jones has basically a victim of elderly abuse or something.
Oh my God.
Because I just don't know who's running it. At this point, I think 2 toddlers in a trench coat are running the Cowboys.
Well, look, and you know how I told you, for me, it's just a good narrative. Like, I'm like, all right. Well, Dwayne McFarland said that in his last 3 odd numbered seasons, Dak Prescott surpassed 4,400 yards and 30 touchdowns. And look, 2025 is an odd number season. So maybe it makes no sense, but I'm locked in on that. He has George Pickens now. I don't know. An extra weapon can't hurt.
I love
Can't
it.
hurt.
I'm happy I brought you in for vibes. Most people I brought in, they're like, well, actually, according to my spreadsheet, blah, 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 blah. And then you come in here, it's like,
No.
every odd season, Dak Prescott performs. It's just like, these are the stats that I live for. Next, we have like a mini tier, and I guess explain to you, Cooter, how I do this is like I have you rank them, and then I look at like where we have clear teardrops when, and it's even easier once we have 3 people. With 2 people, it's a little bit different. This is a tier of like, this is my last chance to get. I would think like a quarterback 2, and I know like Bryce Young is weird in here, but like the rest of these quarterbacks that afterwards have a lot of questions. But this is the last QB2 who I know has a job, and I know there's at least an opportunity for them to give me consistent points. It's Jordan Love in C tier, Geno Smith, and Bryce Young.
Yep.
Where are you at on Jordan Love? Do you think he's good, or is he on another long line of Hall of Fame Packers, or is he just good enough?
I think he's just good enough, but like he had some injuries last year, but he didn't have, like, I drafted him and I had him. And so in my mind, I had this weird feeling that he had a bad year, but he really didn't. I mean, it was 3,300 yards, 25 touchdowns. Now my thing is they're adding Matthew Golden, and he's in my little list. Like I told you, like I'll still draft him. And here's why, because if Matthew Golden can be a wide receiver 1 for them, like I know they've told Jayden Reed's agent, like, you're still the guy. I don't think that's true. And I like Tyler Kraft. I like Tyler Kraft a lot. So I've got hope on Green Bay still, unless he, burns me. But I like Jordan Love. But I didn't rank him this way, but I really am excited for Geno Smith. He's the one I really like. If I'm taking a late round quarterback, I know, look, you're making a face.
You're my people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were judging me. I've said this with Kendall before. The Saints are breaking my heart. I could be a Raiders fan this season. Like, the Raiders just excite me. They have so much going on. I mean, Brock Bowers did so much with who? Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder. Like, I love that Geno's there. I'm excited. So you hype me up on it. Hype me up.
I mean, yeah, you nailed it. I'm so in on the Raiders. When they first hired Pete Carroll, I'm like, Raiders are going to Raiders again. But every move after that has just made sense, and it's been intentional. Their biggest hire that I love is Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, what he did for Ohio State and how he makes such a unique offense moving these pieces around, I think is fantastic. They love Geno Smith. Pete Carroll loves Geno Smith. I remember, I don't know, you do too, the offseason where they got rid of Russ, and he's like, I think we're fine. We have our quarterback. And we're like, do you, dog? And then Geno Smith came out with that season. I mean, I think and let's just take this a step further, all the way up to the executives. He's a Tom Brady type guy. Tom Brady loves these like underdogs who play hard. And then we go from the quarterback, from the staff around him that built the team. And now let's go to the actual weapons. You already mentioned Brock Bowers and what he can do. Jakobi Meyers is perennially underrated. I just made a video, or I'm going to be making a video. It's going to come out either before or after this one. I don't know, folks. I create things for money, so organization isn't our strong point. But like the Raiders are one of my favorite stacks because they're affordable and they all have upside. Whereas like in redraft, Ashton Genty, top 5 back, you're not paying Saquon prices. So you can get him as one of your top picks. And then you can go around, especially like around the turn, and get Brock Bowers fairly early if someone isn't smart and getting him in first round. Then Jakobi Meyers in the next point. I love some Jack Besh here.
Me too.
They are cheap. I cannot stop drafting Jack Besh. He's a little bit short, a little bit smaller, but when you think about play styles of like Puka Nacua, I think they got a very good roster here. All in on the Raiders. I'm like you, where like if the Patriots let me down, the Patriots aren't even fun to root for because everyone hates you for being a Patriots fan. Boston sucks. I didn't know when I was 11 years old and decided the Patriots were my team. No one told me that Boston was like a kind of racist city and kind of awful. So I'm like, I
didn't know that either.
It is. It's like notorious. Like, listen to Mark Wahlberg's stories. It's kind of awful how they treat their players and stuff there. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that every one of my colleagues would immediately hate me for loving the Patriots. I would probably be a sad Raiders fan right now if I could. Now, the last one in this tier, Bryce Young. Do you believe at all? Or are you done? Do you any belief in just going to pass?
I believe in Tataroa McMillan. I don't know. Like I think he'll catch some balls and I'll score a few touchdowns. But also as a Saints fan, look, that's why I don't do rankings. I got that narrative in my head. I'm like, it's the Panthers, But he looked better. So I'm not like all out, but I will say he is in my I'll pass tier. Like I'm passing on him. I'm not drafting him. So I hope he does well.
I have no choice but to draft him. I've had no choice but to draft him sometimes, man. Where it's like, especially now, I think it feels like we have more quarterbacks than ever, but we don't for fantasy. It's like, yeah, we have like high-end quarterbacks. Let's put it this way. Our B tier is just a big block. And that's kind of how I view it. There's a couple of guys where I think they have more upside, but for mostly there's like a big tier of like Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Matt Stafford, that at the end of the day on a spreadsheet, they're going to come out the same. And Bryce Young, I think his ceiling is to be one of those guys. His floor is to be, I guess this is a good segue to this D tier. D as in Dookie Doodoo. Because like rest in peace. Well, I guess we'll get there. Michael Penix, Sam Darnold, Tua Tagovailoa, Cam Ward, and Anthony Richardson. Now I joke that this is doo-doo. I like Sam Darnold at cost. I'm a small believer. Cam Ward is something at cost. I don't know why I can't click Tua.
Oh no, I can't either.
I don't know why. I don't know why I can't click the button. Like I've had so many opportunities to draft Tua, and I'm like, not me. And then there's the ugly duckling Anthony Richardson. So much upside, but absolutely zero floor here. I guess we'll start from the top of Michael Penix. As the Saints fan, you watch a lot of NFC South.
Yeah.
Do you have confidence in Michael Penix, or do you think that Michael Penix just wasn't Kirk Cousins?
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I hate that. I mean, look, I will say this. He's going to play against an old-aged Saints defense probably twice this year. He's got some chances. My thing is he has good weapons. He's got Bijan. He's got Drake London. Kyle Pitts needs to step it up. But of the group that we just named, Sam Darnold and Michael Penix, I would take over Tua, over Anthony Richardson, over Cam Ward. So those are the only two that I would probably, if I was in a pinch, actually click on. You know what I mean?
And that's when we get into like best ball. I'll draft Michael Penix because I've drafted Drake London. And it's one of those things where it's like, love Drake London. Guess I got to get Michael Penix, type thing. And he's cheap enough to where I think he's worth a shot. The next one here, there's a lot to talk about all these quarterbacks in here. Sam Darnold, I think people underrate just how bad it is to be a round 3 QB. A lot of people are like Jalen Milroe is going to take over that team. Do you think that Jalen Milroe is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson or Dak Prescott?
I honestly kind of am surprised by the Sam Darnold hate. Like, he had a phenomenal season last year. He had some bad games, but like, he's got JSN and Cooper Kupp here, and he's got MVS, who scored 4 times on 17 catches with the Saints. So he's another one. Like I said, him and Penix, I would take if I'm in a pinch, just because I feel like he at least has a chance at some stellar games, maybe 300 passing yard games again, you know?
Honestly, the only thing that worries me about Darnold is that the Seahawks haven't had an offensive line since their Super Bowl win. That is the one bad thing that Pete Carroll did, is he kept tearing the line apart. He traded Max Unger for Jimmy Graham. That's like, I remember as a kid, I think that was one of my first trades. I remember being younger. I'm like, wow, that was a pretty dumbass, egregious trade there. I was like, your line was already poor, so you bought the ghost of Jimmy Graham to fix your line and your passing game. It was bizarre. They haven't got a lot better. And Sam Darnold, as we saw towards the tail end of the Viking season, he needs that offensive line. So that is my only worry. But again, I like Clint Kubiak and what he's done. I love some Kenneth Walker because of Clint Kubiak. I will click the button. Cam Ward. Now let's start with Tua. Why do we all think the Dolphins suck? I don't know. I'm not a stat guy, but like, I feel like I don't know if you've seen Severance, but I'm like cleaning numbers. I'm like, these numbers seem really scary. Like, I just don't know what's going on with the Dolphins. I think we saw the black light on the Dolphins last year, and in the hotel room that is the Dolphins locker room. It's not just Tua being injured. The offensive line's poor. Your entire rushing attack is built on outside zone scheme, which Cooter, you're a doctor, you're a PhD. Did you know that the rushing game really depends on an offensive line?
Do they have to, run through them or something?
They do. And then when your starting running back weighs like a paperclip, it's concerning. And then you got Tyreek Hill and
does he even want to be there? Like, that's my question. Does he even want to be there? Is he going to walk off mid-game because he's not getting targets again? Like, I don't know. It all makes me nervous.
Yeah, let's just say what it is. Tyreek Hill's playing football just to pay for child support. He doesn't actually want to be there. He's just like, I got all these kids. You know, they all like, it's a lot of
what's going on. He just doesn't. I know he doesn't want to be in Miami, and he'll say he does a week later, but he was celebrating like that. Did you see that he got trolled? Somebody said, "Oh, you got traded" on a live stream, and he was excited. I don't know. I think he's any week just over it and not going to want to play.
Yeah, I mean, Mike McDaniel, I think he's a very cool guy. Like, we all very fun vibes, a lot of stuff to like. I don't know if he's a leader of men. I don't know if he's a leader. Like, he just seems like the dude that you really want calling plays, cooking up cool stuff, but like, he's no Mike Vrabel. And I'm not really complimenting Mike Vrabel as like a coach because he's had his own flaws. I know I'm a Patriots fan. I have my concerns, but it's almost like you want Mike Vrabel and Mike McDaniel together. But it's kind of like if you watch Parks and Rec, how you have like a Chris Traeger and a Ben thing where you got like these opposite thing. I think they could run a good team together. But Mike McDaniel on his own, I don't think he can manage a Tyreek Hill. So I'm out. Cam Ward, I don't think you should draft him in redraft, guys. Just don't do it. Dynasty, that's a whole other conversation. I am not counting on the Titans. What is when they hired Brian Callahan as the coach of the Titans, I'm like, wow, that's a person. He can coach football. I think, like, the Bengals, we've known for years that the Bengals have only been good because they have good players. They haven't said, wow, the Bengals are really cooking because of that game. No one's ever said that. And then they went and drafted him, or they went and bought him, and now we're left with one season of Will Levis that wasn't very encouraging, and now we have Cam Ward, who is the best quarterback in one of the worst QB classes of all time.
Yeah. And then also like Tyler Lockett, like, I just feel like the weapons aren't even super exciting,
Yeah. Calvin Ridley is everyone's shocked that like, well, Calvin Ridley, they got a young guy. Calvin Ridley was old when he got in the league. He was like a 27-year-old rookie or something like that. He's old as shit, and he is a wide receiver too. Elick Ayomanor, someone I had, excuse me, someone I had hopes for, but he fell to the 4th round. Will I draft him 3rd, 4th round in a dynasty draft? For sure. But I'm not counting on a 4th round pick who fell, arguably because of injuries, to be the savior of Cam Ward and the Titans offense. Just don't do it. Now let's get really depressing. Anthony Richardson.
Look, you're not going to like this, but I'm like still not convinced he's starting.
I'm not either, dude.
I think I said this a few weeks ago and people thought I was crazy, but I'm like, I think if you had to ask me today, I think Daniel Jones is starting week 1.
And it's like, you could tell yourself a story. Daniel Jones had a good season, the first season with Brian Daboll, but he had a good environment. Then a lot of that stuff went away and he got injured. If he's healthy, he's a better quarterback than Anthony Richardson. I was the biggest Anthony Richardson guy. I think I would have more hope for him if I thought that Shane Steichen knew what he was doing. Like Shane Steichen's one of those where you see his interviews and you're like, I see zero confidence. When I told you guys I looked up ore farming, Shane Steichen cannot do that. He's negative ore farming. If anything, he's burning the farms up. Because I think it was like one interview, he's just like, well, we're going to do our best. We just got to go back to the drawing board. I'm just like, I have no confidence that you could fix a quarterback who needed a lot of fixing. Which that's enough on that. Well, let's go to the F tier, which is like, you really shouldn't be drafting these guys here.
Yeah, here's my boy, Tyler Shough.
Yeah. What's funny, when you didn't even rank these, you just said 30 plus. I physically went in and ranked these just so I could have like something in here. But you're right. This whole tier could, and I'm curious I forgot what you named it. This is like what I call like the amoeba tier, where in order to draft one of these quarterbacks, you have to draft other quarterbacks to feel good. Tyler Shough is the only one where you feel like he's going to be a starter. You're a resident Saints fan. What is your confidence level from 1, as in we're fucked, to 10, as in Super Bowl, baby?
Oh God, week 2, 2024, Super Bowl, baby. I don't know. I'm like in the middle. I've seen enough to see that he's older. He's got experience. We passed on Sanders for a reason because we're looking for a different type of locker room vibe, I think, and experience there. But I'm so nervous because I don't know that I trust our coaching to really be behind any quarterback that we have. Like, are they going to start Spencer Rattler or him? And then if they do bad 2 weeks in a row, are they going to flip flop? Like, I feel like we need to just bite the bullet and commit to one. So yeah, I'm not comfortable at all. I will say I almost took him as my QB3 in a super flex dynasty draft the other day and I chickened out. So if that says anything.
I've taken him as a QB3 because of need sometimes, where it's like I have a competitive roster. That's what happened to me in one league. I'm like, cool, I drafted a super competitive roster. Then QBs just dried up right before me. I'm like, well, fuck. So it's like, get ready to speak Tyler Shough, buddy. That's where I'm at. I will say in Bestball, I will take shots at him as my QB3. Or,
just in case.
Just in case. Like you said, he's there. He's free. Now let's look at the rest of this tier. You got Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel. This is why I said I don't even rank this far in QBs, but I physically have to, because I'm just going to keep it real. If Shedeur Sanders isn't the starter of the Browns, I need to just pack it up. I've built my career on rookie scouting through Dynasty. I have a hard time seeing a path where Shedeur Sanders isn't the starting QB here. With that being said, it's the Browns, man. Yeah. it's the Browns. Kevin Stefanski is somehow a good coach, and that's why I say it's the Browns. I think Kevin Stefanski is a fantastic coach, but he can't even survive in Cleveland. He can't even make it there. So in order to draft Shedeur, you have to draft Joe Flacco to feel good, just in case. Maybe even Dylan Gabriel, because he was drafted for some reason ahead of Tua Tagovailoa. Dylan Gabriel is if you asked AI to make an action figure of Tua Tagovailoa, and people are like excited to draft that. I don't get it. And then when you get Jaxson Dart, you're hoping that Jaxson Dart is a starter, and then you're hoping that Jaxson Dart is a Kenny Pickett. on top of that. So then you have to draft Russell Wilson.
Mm-mm.
It's just ugly. And then
I'm
what is
avoiding
Aaron
it
Rodgers?
all.
You're avoiding all. Aaron Rodgers, like what is that? What is that?
We talked a little bit earlier about the Steelers and that locker room and that organization. I cannot believe that they didn't go in on quarterback when they hadn't signed Rodgers yet. That blew my mind, that they didn't have some insurance policy of like, hey, he's definitely coming so we can pass on some of these top. That surprised me. They scare me this season. I'm very worried for that team.
Yeah, imagine you being that big of a dickhead to where a team that is that desperate as the Steelers would pass it up. It just, and I saw the reports where they said there's no way Shedeur Sanders is going to be a Steeler. I'm like, are you sure? For a fourth round, I think there's worse things that you could spend a fourth round on than Sanders. It makes no sense. Imagine Aaron Rodgers in that locker room.
Yeah. Right. I will say this though, how iconic would it be if Mason Rudolph had like some random ass Brock Purdy season where it's like no one thought he could do it and he becomes like stays the starter and does well? I don't see it happening, but that's what I root for. That's what I would hope to happen.
Or Will Howard comes out of nowhere. What's funny, you could put up 2 pictures of Will Howard and Mason Rudolph right next to each other. I couldn't tell you the difference at all. Like put up Riley Leonard up there too, and I'm like, wow, I don't know. It's definitely interesting here.
Oh, God.
Yeah, F tier guys. If you're shopping in this tier, like I said, Shedeur Sanders is someone that I will draft. I have drafted him in best ball because again, you have to sometimes, especially if you're doing like super flex stuff. You just want out of it. All right, but that'll do it for this show. I'm Jagger May, Cooterdoodle over at Fantasy Life. You have a real job and a day job on here, so you're about to slow down and get crazy for this season. But what do you got working and going on over there now? You did have a pod with Kendall.
Yep, the pod with Kendall, the Untitled Pod, will be coming back after the summer, I think, and then just writing articles there, writing the newsletter, things like that, and not drafting Drake May, I think, right?
Yeah, we're going to ignore that. I'll cut that out in post, guys. And like I said, if you guys want more content like this, hit the like and subscribe button. We'll have more fast draft tournaments going up. We have a huge tournament going on where we're actually talking quarterbacks, not just our flex tournament. So you want to stay tuned for that. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
So I thought I needed